Black screen. The church bell tolls long and haunting in the void. Suddenly, a roar. The screen shakes as a truck smashes into the doors of the LDS church in Michigan. Splintered wood bursts outward. Screams slice the air. Gunfire erupts in rapid bursts. Cinematic, deep voiceover. On the 28th of September 2025, Grand Blanc, Michigan, descended into hell. Thomas Jacob Sanford, 40, a former U.S. Marine, rammed a truck into an LDS church mid-service, opened fire with an AR-15, and set the building ablaze. 4 dead, 8 wounded. The FBI called it a deliberate attack on a house of worship. But America is asking a larger question. Was this just the crime of one man, or the wound of a nation? The soundtrack intensifies, drums pounding like a colossal heartbeat, each strike echoing through the void. The camera lunges forward, zooming onto fiery red letters burning across the black screen. Who failed? The Tonight Show studio materializes. But it's no longer The Tonight Show. No neon lights, no easy laughter. The air is heavy, like a national tribunal. The familiar golden bulbs are dimmed, replaced with a weak glow, like candlelight in a crypt. A single white spotlight cuts down on a glossy black table at center stage, its reflection cold as a tombstone. On the massive screen behind, the LDS church still burns, black smoke rolling upward, intercut with the flames. Flashing words sharp as knives to the eye. System failure or religious hatred. The audience is packed, yet silent to the point of suffocation. No whispers, no nervous chuckles. Every breath hisses like it's forced through clenched teeth. People sit rigid, fingers digging into armrests, eyes taut as overstretched strings. In the spotlight, Jimmy Fallon. The friendly smile is gone. His face is frozen. Eyes heavy, carrying the weight of a prosecutor more than a late-night host. Across from him, Jon Stewart, still leaning forward on one arm, his deep-set eyes probing every corner of the room. Light catches the lines on his face, etching them into scars, making him look like a bitter witness, summoned to tell unwelcome truths. This is no talk show. It is a courtroom, and the nation sits as jury. Fallon inhales slowly, his voice deliberate and pounding, each word falling like a gavel. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're not here for entertainment. We're not here for jokes. Tonight, we put a national wound on trial. He turns to Stewart, head tilted in respect, though his gaze remains firm. Jon, thank you for being here. Though I know this conversation will not be easy. Stewart nods, unsmiling. Unflinching. His reply rasps from deep in his chest. Jimmy, I wish I didn't have to sit here for this reason. But the truth needs to be said. A weak ripple of applause emerges. Not cheerful, ritualistic, dry, as if the audience claps only to remind themselves they're still breathing in this oppressive air. No smiles. Fallon clasps his hands tightly on the table, then lifts his eyes to Stewart, his voice heavy as boulders rolling into an abyss. Thomas Jacob Sanford was not a ghost. He was a veteran who fought in Iraq. This government trained him. And then he turned his weapon on his own people. Not just anywhere, but inside a sacred place. They're one-sided. He pauses, letting silence consume the room, before firing the first question like a starter's pistol. Jon, is this an attack on religion, or a desperate cry for help from a man abandoned? The camera lingers on Stewart. His face darkens, eyes glinting like fire in the shadows. The room holds its breath, awaiting his verdict. Stewart's voice hardens, his hand clenched white. Jimmy, if we frame this as a war on Christianity, we're lying to ourselves. This wasn't just an attack on faith. This was a ticking bomb set by our government. A veteran discarded, a man drowning in PTSD, and a society that refused to hear his cries. A murmur sweeps the audience like wind through a forest. Fallon leans forward, palm striking the glossy table with a crisp thud. that echoes. But Jon, you cannot dismiss the religious factor. 4 people died while praying. The president called this an attack on Christians. How do we ignore that? Camera cuts back to Stewart. His eyes blaze, voice rising sharp. I don't ignore it. I refuse to let it bury the bigger truth. If we call this a religious attack, what's the solution? Truck barriers outside churches, armed guards at the doors, hollow speeches about tolerance. And then what? Nobody fixes the VA. Nobody takes assault rifles from unstable hands. Nobody indicts the Pentagon for abandoning soldiers once they're home. The audience erupts, half clap furiously, shouting with Stewart. The other half boo and jeer, shaking their heads. Chaos brews. Fallon's voice sharpens, his cadence prosecutorial. But Jon, Sanford didn't just shoot. He torched the church. That's symbolism. That's a declaration. Burn the faith. Burn the community. How is that not religious hatred? Stewart bolts upright. His chair screeches back. His voice cracks thunder through the hall. Yes, it's hatred. But hatred for the America that abandoned him. The church was a soft target. He didn't see God there, Jimmy. He saw a society pretending to be at peace, while discarding those who fought for it. He didn't fire at believers. He fired at our indifference. The camera pans. A woman sobs into her hands. A young man clenches his fist, shouting, "That's right." An old veteran bows his head, shoulders trembling under the weight of memory. The atmosphere quakes. Screams, applause, jeers colliding like storm waves against stone. Stewart's voice slices down to a whisper, icy and sharp. Thomas Jacob Sanford is the weapon America created. We trained him to kill, sent him to war, then threw him back into society without healing. When that bomb went off, we called it a religious attack to wash our hands. But the truth is, America betrayed him. The studio detonates with noise, applause, outrage, stomps, whistles. The camera trembles in the chaos. Fallon shoots up, face flushed, veins taut, shouting like a man cornered. Jon, if you keep saying this, you're turning a murderer into a victim. He killed people. He burned a church. That's not a cry for help. That's a crime. Stewart leans across the table, palms flat, teeth clenched, words like blades. Jimmy, I don't forgive him. I indict this government. When the system pushes soldiers into the shadows, the government becomes complicit. Sanford is the final product of betrayal. The hall erupts. Faces flash on screen. A woman wailing with a photo in hand. A middle-aged man yelling, "Personal responsibility!" A group of youth leaping up with furious applause. Fallon slams the table sound, cracking like a judge's gavel. Light flickers, frame shakes. Jon, you're killing the concept of personal responsibility. If every crime is the system's fault, then no one is accountable. Justice dies. Morality dies. Stewart roars back, eyes bloodshot, veins pulsing. And if we only talk about the individual, more churches will burn, more children will die in classrooms, more supermarkets will turn into killing fields. This is not just about one man. This is a social disease. His words thunder, echoing as if across America's walls. The screen behind them bursts alive. Montage of churches engulfed in flames. Empty classrooms smeared with blood. Supermarkets gutted after mass shootings. Screams, sirens, sobs layering the soundscape. The crowd fractures, some shouting, "Fallon's right!" Others crying and clapping for Stewart. The noise roars like an earthquake. Both men stand, face to face. Spotlit, warriors with no swords, only words. Neither backs down. Among the crowd, a woman sobbing, clutching the photo of a loved one lost in Michigan. A trembling veteran rises, cane in hand, tears dripping heavy to the floor. A young man hoists a crude sign, "No more blood." On the live stream screen, comments flood relentlessly. Fallon's right. America is collapsing. Justice is dead. Fallon stares into the lens, voice heavy with judgment. We've heard both sides. One says Sanford is the product of the system. The other says he is guilty, personally responsible. The truth likely lies in the painful gap between those claims. But one thing is certain. If we only debate and never change, whether fault lies with the man or the system, we all fail. The room is graveyard silent. No applause, no heckling, just the throb of hearts. The lights dim. The screen behind shows two hands clasping, one frail and old, one strong and young. Fallon extends his hand. Stewart hesitates, eyes still sharp, then grips it. No cheers, no whistles, just long, heavy sighs, like funeral bells. Voiceover booms, solemn, over images outside Michigan. The church's scorched shell, smoke still rising, flowers lining police tape, candles flickering in the wind. A scrawled sign. Pray for Grand Blanc. A man kneels at the ruins, trembling hand brushing charred wood. A little girl hugs a half-burnt teddy bear, staring blankly, lips quivering. In a dark room, another veteran sits alone, empty bottle in hand. On his small screen, the debate replays. His eyes glaze, lips trembling. If one day I lose control, will they call it my fault or America's? Music sinks low, heartbeat heavy. Violins weep, smothered sobs in sound. Black screen. White letters emerge slowly, etched like steel. Who failed? Silence stretches. Then the final voiceover, deep and tolling like a funeral bell. The debate ends, but the question lingers. Who failed, one man or the system? Perhaps no answer suffices. But one truth cannot be denied. If we stay silent, if we let blood become the new normal, then we are all complicit. The score swells like a dirge, then falls quiet, as if a prayer cut short. Final words blaze white against the black void. Like, share, subscribe. Do not let tragedy become routine. The camera fades to black.